I want to take a minute to talk to you about the SI Club because if this podcast resonates, you are going to love it. It is the place where you get to go deeper on money energetics, and you also get to pair that with real world investing strategy. So, what you get inside of the club is you get access to the SI method, which is a non-linear, frequency based approach that allows you to learn how to invest and also bring in income in an effortless way. So increasing your income and expanding it through investing. You get a monthly call with me. You get a private community that's all spiritually based individuals building wealth. You get access to the SI Drop into Certainty. It's the new AI tool. And so you can ask, any time of day, you can ask that a question and sort of build your own way. And if you're on the annual membership, then you get access to my stock list, my full personal stock list. So this is definitely a way for you to go to the next level. And you can find the link at thespiritualinvestor.com, or you can find it here in the show notes. Okay, see you soon. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. Favorite place, you guys know if you've been here, I always say that. But I just love to settle in here. I love the co-creation that happens here. So today we're going to talk about what is the difference between making money and expanding money, and what does expanding money look like in the new world paradigm versus what you may be doing now. As always, the goal with this podcast is that you can come here and spend not very much time really. But if you're willing to go vertical, if you're willing to really open and allow yourself to take this in, then you can step away with something tremendous that you can take back into your day. Maybe it's not everything from this, but even if you just take one thing from this, that really you can take back into your day and sort of weave it in like you're weaving something into fabric, then you will literally not recognize your life. You will change over time in a way that feels like it's not constricting or maybe not even uncomfortable. I don't know. I'm also of the take that it's not a bad thing to be uncomfortable sometimes either. So let's start with, why is savings not enough no matter how disciplined you are? Well, if you think about it, and we saw this firsthand back in the pandemic when the number of billionaires in the world quadrupled. There were people on one end of the spectrum that weren't able to work, and they were really, really struggling because their earned income had gone away or been compromised in some way. And then there's people on the other end of the spectrum that they're just sitting there going, oh my gosh, look at my assets, which are increasing. The market, real estate, everything, like right after and even somewhat during that time, assets were just appreciating. And so the largest generator of wealth is not earned income. The largest generator of wealth is ownership of assets and the gain that you get from that. Now, if you think about it, you can already see this around you because real estate and stocks appreciate way faster than salaries do. If your income grows 3% and then you compare that against, according to the US like CPI inflation reports, which come out monthly, if you compare that, your income growing at 3%, the cost of living over the last 3 years has gone up 17%. So a lot of people see steady income. They see consistency, all of that. They see that in their lives as being responsible. My whole take is you can create your way into a steady income if you want to. It's just money management. It's choices in money management. Because 3% versus 17, what you can see is you can't be responsible enough to beat that math. You just can't. What you're up against is you're up against a game that's not really in your favor with that. So you can begin to take some of that earned income and switch it into ownership. And that's what a lot of the spiritual investor is about, is helping you do that. It's also all about that waiting is lack energy. And so when you find yourself in a state of waiting, like literally, you can just know that you've chosen the waiting, because source doesn't wait, right? If you're in certainty, which certainty is the same thing as source would never be uncertain, then you're not waiting for something. You're doing some part of the creation process. So when you own assets, what's happened is that you have taken your energy and you have actually displaced it out into the 3D world, and you've said, I'm agreeing for you to now work with me and for me. And investing is really a beautiful thing. Investing is really just the expansion of money. And sometimes it's helpful to even swap that word if you have some relationship to the word investing. But um, it's really a beautiful thing too, because, and what investing does is it actually gets the money out of your frequency and puts it, out into, if you're willing to leave it alone, it puts it out into just simply the compound interest equation matrix that has happened to work beautifully over the last 100 years. Um, so, because this is 100 years of the stock market. So, um, for you to be able to get the money out of your frequency is helpful. Now, where I see this not work so great is when people are checking their investing account every day, or when people are saying, I should have bought more of that, or I should have bought that, or I should have done this, or should I sell this? Should I, blah, blah, blah. When you get into the blah, 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 which is so stressful. And it's one of the things that makes money feel so heavy. The bottom line is, it's actually very simple. Switching from earned income to owning assets makes you your own bank. And when you are your own bank, then you are in full control of your financial life. The only caveat I would say to that is, if you have your assets parked into one type of, if you just have it in the stock market or you just have it in real estate, then that's not great either, because something could happen where economically that asset, it doesn't do well. And then you're then again at the mercy of that. But a diversified portfolio, which would have at least 3, ideally 8 different types of asset classes, then you are truly setting the 3D world up to work for you. Now, the irony is that you were taught that you're setting up the 3D world to work for you when you have the most stable earned income job. But first of all, that's never been true, because you've always been one decision away from somebody else having an impact on you putting food on the table. So that's never been true. But now that we're coming into the age of AI, we're already here, that's definitely not true. Because if you know nothing about AI, if you know nothing about investing, you can still see the writing on the wall that jobs will be replaced. And even if a job isn't fully replaced, let's say that you have a job where it's not going to be replaced in the near future, something like that, a portion of it will. People will be replaced, right? And when I say replaced, if you for the most part, I don't think that people are really happy in their jobs. I don't know that people are super fulfilled anyway. So it's like, okay, take the bad medicine away from people that they don't really like anyways. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to cause people to think outside of the box. It's going to cause people to think different. I am quite optimistic, as you guys could probably tell. So I'm like, great. It's going to give people the ability to actually go out there and do what they want, because they're going to be faced with needing to do what they want, like really, really choosing themselves. Now, are they willing to go deep in order to do that? Because, I mean, I've been doing this for 9 years, and I can tell you that the biggest thing that makes a shift between being an entrepreneur and making no money versus making lots of money is, are you willing to not filter your content? Are you not filter, meaning like me trying to figure out what you want to know? I know what you want to know because I can feel your energy. If I was speaking into what I thought you wanted to know, I would be trying to speak to thousands and thousands of people, if not millions. So you can't do that. You have to be able to energetically feel what's going on in the world. What are people asking? And also, to a certain degree, what is sort of wanting to come through me, because what you're asking and what is wanting to come through me are one and the same thing when I am managing my energy and I am fully in a state of fully allowing. Um, that's also when I'm not questioning how something works. When I'm in that state of being, my energy of certainty naturally leads into an energy of generosity. Now, generosity is not the same thing as giving. Giving is the 3D word in my mind for generosity, because giving is something that is an actionable item that you could do, and you could be giving and not really have even what you're giving away. People overgive all the time for just to, appease their own, whether it's guilt or what it is. And it could be money, it could be your time, it could be people pleasing, it could be all different types of things. Generosity is something that is generated from within, and I am going to feel generosity. I'm going to feel generosity in your giving too. But when giving needs validation is when it becomes something that doesn't belong, I would say, in this new world that we spend all this time talking about on this podcast. So the effortless way of being allows the space for generosity. Generosity is where people actually get to show up in a new way. So people are showing up in the space of my generosity. And this is something that I'm exploring in my own life, with my own way of being in every area of my life. And I'm also actually taking this into a new model that I'm creating within my business. Um, I am constantly playing around with the concepts that I talk about here inside the Spiritual Investor. Just recently, I've always, been able to give money back to my team in a certain degree. But what I wanted to create for them was a true, like, transparent, so they know what's going on, sharing some of the money that's coming in. And so we recently put a new model in place. And so that is a way to give them ownership, right? So they know that this one particular area that they do have like a tremendous amount of control over within the company, they're really making the decisions on it. I've stepped back from it. Um, they are able to directly decide, but also be part of a team and not be reliant on me to always, be making the right decisions or to be controlling what happens with their money. So shifting things to ownership, you can do it within your current situation if you really are willing to be creative about it. And even if you can't do it completely, always be moving towards shifting towards ownership. Even going out and buying a stock share today is shifting you into ownership. So it doesn't have to be this monumental thing. Eventually it will. Eventually you will be untouchable. Eventually you will have full financial freedom because you will be your own bank, and your bank will be diversified. So eventually you will have moved beyond the if you're saving your way into wealth, or if you're not a saver, you're likely relying on whatever straws you've been able to draw in the past that have worked for you. And there's nothing wrong. There is absolutely, wherever you are is perfect. And the moment that you are good with it being perfect and like, oh God, I'm so relieved. It's perfect. Now I'm in certainty that I'm going to switch to ownership. Now let go of what that looks like, other than, can I just take one action step towards that? Then that's it. Then you go on, you go about your day and you do something different. Then again, you wake up the next day. Okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm switching to ownership. Okay, we're going to do something different that day. try not repeat the same thing over and over, because then you get into a very limited habit. And so you want to constantly be thinking about different ways that you can have ownership. The thing is, as well, is that the old way of being, it really did make you a bit susceptible. And I think people saw this during the pandemic, because you could be wiped out by like one single event, a healthcare thing, or a child needing something, or something like that. Like it's again, there's no fear in this. It's awareness. It's okay. Well, let me just kind of build my way out of that. No different than when I literally built my way out of working a corporate, because I was on the trading floor, and I was like, oh, I'm going to deploy this money in a new way, so that my focus then became monthly cash flows. And that's when I started looking at real estate, because I'm like, well, that's a perfect vehicle for monthly cash flows. Um, and it ended up being great. And it's people were giving me so much advice during that time. Don't buy real estate. That's the worst investment. Don't buy it. You can't. People were squatting in houses at that time, which means they were basically wouldn't leave, and you had to go to court and get them out, and they weren't paying, and it was just. I was like, when things are a mess, that is where opportunity is. It really is. It's so funny, because if I look at like even my relationships, I'm like, God, I hate it when we're not on the same page, but yet, man, the gold comes out of that, you know? So let's go back to this earned income versus ownership. So housing is a weird conundrum, actually, because of your cost of living, housing is your most expensive thing. Um, and unless you have some kind of health thing or you have something different going on, but I would say in general, housing is your most expensive thing. Now, it's also a very good appreciating asset. So, can you see how that's kind of working against you, though? Because it is your most expensive thing, which means that it locks a lot of people out from being able to buy housing, which creates this big wealth disparity gap between, different types of people. And then when you can buy a house, then you're strapped sometimes, because that's taking up so much of your income that then you're not able to do these other things. And then you're sort of stuck with equity in a home, and you need to live somewhere. And so even appreciating assets can still be they're not used wrong, but not necessarily used in an intelligent way. And I think it is really the conditioning of the American dream and what it's supposed to look like, which I do think to a certain degree we're giving up what the American dream looks like. We're giving up what parenting looks like. We're giving up what relationships look like, all of it. So I think we just have to say, okay, well, we are in the middle of that. Um, but seeing that wealth is not just about money, that wealth is about ownership. And sometimes ownership of something, you're not really making that much money at first. But what's your vision with it? Because in my experience, even when I went into an investment like a rental income, and I was like, okay, well, it's only making $400 a month or whatever, but it's in a great area of town and has this and has that and has that. Sometimes I did have to decide based on other things, which I'm so glad I did. But because for me, I'm like, I'm mostly choosing from the scale of something. I'm not choosing based on the constriction of it. And so you can see that this model actually is very successful even in the world, because software companies, like billions come into software companies because of scale, right? Even hardware companies, which one could say has a limited scalability, they override that by having big partnerships. I mean, that's if you look at Nvidia and Micron and TSM, like the partnerships is what puts them on the map. And this let me figure everything out on my own thing that we have with ourselves. Let me create this business like in a singular fashion on my own. Let me be responsible. Let me find more hours in the day. It's all based on a ceiling that you're accepting. And I think it's really the looking of that ceiling that is the most important thing, and saying, I'm not doing it this way anymore. Because what shifts when people really get this that I'm talking about is their non negotiables change. And a non negotiable to me, it's not a habit because it might be something that I do once a month or once a year. A non negotiable is, it's way not my standard anymore to do it the old way. Like it's almost like you get a feeling of like ick. You can't do it. Like I can't go back. I can't do it the old way. Um, but if you're in a life with this comfortability aspect to it, where you don't have a lot of what I call breaking the structure, there's nothing preventing you from continuing to just have these ceilings around you that look like comfort, but they're really not. They're really just keeping you where you are. And it's until you have the breaking of the structure, you really can't see things in the way. Like there's no space for it. When we have the breaking of the structure, which, I've given the example before when I was walking the Camino, this is actually where I came up with this, is that, I was so pissed off about every morning putting that 20-pound backpack on and starting in the dark, walking in the dark with no coffee. And then you couldn't really find a coffee shop for another, like, it would be at least 2 miles, if not longer. And there's some coffee shop out in the middle of nowhere in Spain, and they serve the same thing. You get coffee, you get bread with ham on it, and you get orange juice. And it's like, I don't know, the whole morning for me, I just had to really reconcile the morning with myself. And it took a while to do it. But once I did it, and then I started seeing that I didn't care anymore, I had more energy. Like I was enjoying my conversations. I was enjoying the morning air. And then I had my outfits all dialed in, where I had like the pants where, they zip on the side. And so you can wear them in the morning, and then you don't even have to take your shoes off. You unzip them and you throw them in the backpack. And then my bag got lighter and lighter, because then I would drink the water, and the water was 4 pounds of the total weight. And so then the day when you see the sunrise, and you see what I'm saying, like all of that had to be my comfortability taken away, is actually was such a beautiful thing. But um anything that is stopping you right now from switching into ownership and switching out of earned income, I think would be worthwhile to look at. Um, Anything that you feel like is preventing you from that, I want you to know that that is you accepting a circumstance. You are creating your own life. You are in full control of your own life. And even though the 3D circumstances don't match what you have in your mind, they're not supposed to, because the 3D world is a lag effect. When you stop looking for evidence and validation and all that, and you're able to just be present and come back within, that what you want really is creating the world, when you're willing to pair what you want with your own responsibility to create it. And when I say responsibility, that means not putting it off on everyone else for it to look a certain way. Then you can also find your way into this generosity concept that I said earlier, because when you are feeling and creating your way into something, there's really no way for you not to be generous. And so there's not a choice to be generous. There is oh, well, the game plan is generosity. It's really, really powerful. And I'm having a great time looking into this, and I'm sure I'll be sharing more with this. So even if you just took one thing from this, thank you for co-creating. I hope that you have something to carry back into your day. And so much love to you. I'll see you on the next episode.